Hey everyone, good job on that last assignment, editing those photos. That was really fun to look at. This time I'm going to show you how to use Krita to draw and paint an image from scratch. First thing we're going to do is open Krita program, go on File, select New, and then Create. Here is our blank canvas. I like to start just like when we do a painting. We're going to work in layers. I like to start off with my embâché layer like in painting. We're going to neutralize this so it's not such a hard white. So I want my background color to be more of a gray tone. Since what we're going to be painting is a tennis ball, we're going to work in the greens. I want to move it a little to the yellow because the tennis ball has a lot of yellow in it. There we go. I'm going to select a very neutral background, but I still want it to even though it's gray, I want it to work with the yellow tones and green tones of the tennis ball. So I've selected the gray. I like this color. It's going to work. And go to the paint bucket and fill the canvas. Now that it's a neutral gray, it is perfect to create that contrast that we want to have in a painting. Now that the background's done, we're going to go over here and select another layer to create our tennis ball in. We go over here to the shape selection, and Krita has a lot of really nice shape selections. We're going to use the ellipse tool for our circle. The ellipse shows up right away. The second I push down on my mouse, there's the ellipse, and I can continue pulling, dragging until it is the shape and size that I want. I'm going to leave it a little to the left. Now before I put that tennis ball on there, I do want to select my brush tool though. So I go over here to Brush Presets, and we have a lot of options to find brush tools in. I'm going to select to draw in pencil, so I'm going to go down here and find the pencil that I want. There we go. So I have my pencil, the 2B pencil selected. I want to make sure that I change the color back up. I go back up here, change it to black so that I can see my ellipse that I make. And I'm ready. So hold down the shift. Well, it's not circle yet, so I want to adjust it a little to the right in order to leave room for a shadow on the left side. And there is my circle. Now we're going to go ahead and go back to the layer section because we want to paint on top of this sphere. We're going to apply all of our color. So we're going to go back to the layers, go down here to add a new layer, And this is the layer where we are going to paint on. So we want to work on the top layer. So you can see the first layer is my gray layer, then I have this circle layer, and then the next is my next layer, which is a transparent layer right now. It says visible, yes. So I'm going to work in this layer right now. So we're going to start painting this tennis ball, but first we need to go to the brush select tab and choose a brush that we can create a nice fluffy kind of feathery surface with. So we're going to use a brush stroke that is very texturized, because tennis balls have a kind of a furry surface. So we kind of go down through that hatching surface. Looks pretty good, but I think that the tool that we really want to use is a rake tool. When you want to find a brush that you don't see on here, you can enter resource filter here, and we're actually going to select a rake tool. So I'm going to type in here rake at the bottom, and it's going to give me some different options for rake tools. We're going to select the rake dry bristle, this tool right here, because this is mixed with transparent layers and opaque layers, and it's going to give us that nice soft look of tennis ball fur. Now you can also change the different size of your brush. You can change it up here. So we have our brush selection here. To change the size of the brush, you can hold down the shift and pull it out, or push it in to change the size. Or you can use this tool up here, and I'm going to shrink this brush size down. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is select the color that I want to start with. I want to do an underpainting, and I'm going to put in some highlights. I want those highlights to be, I don't want them to be pure white, because that could be a little rough on the eye and too much contrast. So I'm going to start with here with a little bit of a softer white, and start just kind of getting in that fuzz. And I'm going to kind of work in a circular motion. If I don't like, I did too much fuzz right there, I can go up here to edit, undo, edit, undo. Just going to keep moving around the circle, adding the fuzz. You can also change the opaqueness of the brush. I can make it more opaque, or I can make it less opaque. I'm actually gonna increase it a little bit. There, and you can see that it will cover that line. But in order to keep it soft, those fine hairs on a tennis ball, I'm going to keep it really transparent. Not that transparent. Go back up here. Switch it back up. There we go. And I can go back through and edit it more with using more opaque and more translucent strokes. I don't want everything to look the same because I want it to look like natural hair, so I'm going to kind of turn my brush to move at different angles at some points. There we go. So that it's not looking exactly the same. Trying to get this to look as natural as possible. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the tennis ball, moving in kind of a circular motion. At this point, you're probably saying, Moyano, this is crazy. It looks more like a cotton ball. Trust me, it's just like the examples in classroom where we paint in layers, and when I add that glazing on at the end, you know it makes all the difference in the world. Well, we're going to painting in Krita and other programs like this is the same principle. We're going to paint in layers. I'm going to kind of move that around a little bit. We're just going to keep going around in layers. Okay, so I'm still going around and getting that nice fluffy texture in there, and some areas might be a little too light and some areas might be a little too dark, but getting that underpainting in is really what we're trying to accomplish right now. Just kind of working in that circular motion, getting in that underpainting. And you can see my textures running in a circular pattern. I think that looks pretty good. So now that these highlights are in, this underpainting looks pretty good. I'm ready to switch over to that tennis ball color, that kind of yellow-green color, and I'm going to now add that layer over the top. And I want to make this one a little more opaque, so I'm going to increase the opaqueness. Now it's when we see the hairs of a tennis ball kind of at the end, we don't really see the color. What we see is sort of this translucent lines that kind of stick out, and that's what we want to leave around the tennis ball. So we don't want to actually go to the absolute edge with our next layer. We want to, and again, it's the great thing about painting in a program is that you can undo without gesso. So okay, so trying to time lapse this a little bit. So we are going to now switch to a darker green and continue the layers. And I can always go back and add more highlights. Actually going to put more darker green down here where the light is not going to hit it. We need to think about where the light source is going to be, just like in any other kind of painting and drawing that we do, and we consider where our light source is. In this picture, let's imagine our light source is right here. There's our light source. And so this is going to be where our highlights are primarily at. But because it's a sphere, they're going to come down into this area here. So this area is going to be our